Hello, everybody.
Hi, Izzy. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Hey, Simona, could I make you a co-host just in
Sure.
case some of your colleagues join the waiting room? Will
Yep,
you
no
be able
problem.
to admit them? Give
Not
me
a problem.
a second. Uh, co-host.
And Izzy, I saw or noticed that you're recording. Would it be possible to get a copy of the recording when we're done so that we can share it with team members who aren't able to attend?
Sure, yeah, yeah. I didn't realize I was actually recording this,
Oh,
but it's been a while since I did a Zoom. So
yeah.
last time I did a recording on Zoom, they sent me the link
Hmm.
after the presentation was finished.
Hmm.
So if I receive the link email, then I'll forward it on to you.
Okay, great.
Okay. So do you were you? I think I made you the co-host. Is that
You
right?
did. Yep, you
Okay.
did. I was just able to let somebody in.
Oh,
So,
oh, good, 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 good. Well, one of the things I've been having some issues when I was running presentations on my computer. So when I share my screen, I'm unable to see anything else.
yep.
So just let me know if it looks okay and everything is kosher.
Yeah, no problem. I'll keep an eye on the waiting room as well as on the chat in case there's any questions that pop up. And I'll let you do your thing and then I'll be in the background in case anything pops up.
Oh, okay, good, good. So I see that we have what like 13 people right now. Or are we ex how many are we expecting?
I think this is this time of day that's usually about how many people we have attend, just because given differences in time zones, India's getting in and Latin America, it's the middle of the night for them. So we might have a few more join in the next couple minutes, but I also know it's getting late for you. So if you want to go ahead and get started, again, I'll keep an eye on the waiting room and I do see some key colleagues are here as well, where we'll be able to share notes with any members who aren't able to make it.
Okay, yeah, yeah, not a problem. It's little past 9 p.m., but I'm a late person anyway, so I'm not in any hurry. So we
Yeah.
could wait a few minutes to see if a few more of your colleagues are able to join us today. Well, where's everybody located from?
So I see some team members from definitely from India and Nepal are here. Um, I see Brazil sent their note taker.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it's pretty late for Barbara at this point. I think it's midnight, 1 a.m. ish for her. So that's probably why she sent her a note taker instead of attending in person. A couple
Okay.
other colleagues from India I see. Um, I don't know. There's a few names I don't recognize who I think might be from India as well. Um, so it
Okay.
looks like
So
right now it's India, Nepal, Brazil is what we've got represented right now.
oh, okay. So we got various countries, various time zones.
Yeah.
Okay. How is it? Where
And
are you at, Simona?
I'm in DC, so it's just after midnight for me. But like you, I'm a night owl, so it's totally
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Oh, good, good, good,
Um,
good.
and I know we actually had just gotten the email you replied to earlier today was actually from
About the
Vietnam.
transfer students? Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
actually from Vietnam, I believe. So I
Okay.
know I don't think I see any of our Vietnamese colleagues on the call, but I do know there's definitely interest from them. So
Okay.
we'll definitely make sure to get the information to them as well.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. There's quite a few transfer students from
Hmm.
Vietnam. They like the college pathway, which is really great for
Yeah,
them and their families. But
yeah,
yeah, as long as they're on an F1 student visa, if they're coming from you guys and you guys help them, we got the consent form. Yeah, we would certainly honor that.
yeah. Great. Great.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, hello everybody. My name is Izzy. I am the Director of International Recruitment and Services here at Sonoma State University. And I want to thank you guys for joining us today. It's really nice to see you here in California. It's just a little bit past 9 p.m. We're on Pacific Standard Time. And I know some of you guys are coming from different parts of the world, different time zones. So really want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit about Sonoma State University and what our university has to offer, the educational opportunities, a little bit about what our university looks like, and a little bit about the application process. I know many of you have worked with a lot of the other California State University schools, so some of it you might be very familiar with. I'll go over a presentation. There's quite a few slides, so just bear with me. I'll try to get through the slides as quickly as I can, so we're honoring everybody's time. But if you do have any questions, if you could hold on to those questions until after we finish, that way we could just get through the presentation, and then I could do my best to field and answer any of the questions that you might have about the slides, the presentation, or anything in general about the California State University and Sonoma State. With that, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second to find the right screen. And then Simona, let me know if everything is viewable.
Yep, I can see your PowerPoint. It looks like you're not in slideshow mode though, for what it's worth.
Okay, am I in
I think you're
slideshow
about to
mode
switch.
now?
You are now? Yeah.
Okay, good, good, good. And is the slide completely showing for the
Yes. I see
okay.
the beautiful flowers, and your name and your email address, everything appears to be there.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you, everybody. My name is Izzy. Well, my first name is Israeli, but everybody knows me and calls me as Izzy. So you guys are all welcome to refer to me and call me as Izzy. The slide on the very first screen that you see is of actually the front entrance of Sonoma State University with the nice flowers. Right now, that was taken in the spring, so it's winter here in California. So we don't have the flowers blooming like in the screen in the picture shot, but give us about 5, 6 months and we'll get there. And if you ever visit our university, you'll see these flowers. I work in the Global Engagement Center as well as the Welcome and Recruitment Center. So if you have any questions about international students or Sonoma State University, I would probably be the first person that would be the primary or the lead contact for you. We do have a special email that we've set up called Global Partners at sonoma.edu. This email is specific for any of our partners. If you guys have any questions, our international team, we all look at this email and we'll do our best to field and answer any inquiries pertaining to any of our partners and any of the students that you're currently working with as best we can. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And there's quite a few slides as I mentioned earlier, so we'll try to get through the slides as quickly as possible. Then, if you have any questions, write down your questions or hold questions, and at the very end, we'll do a Q&A session. Okay. So this next slide, you could see that our university has quite an educational history. We were founded in 1960, but the university didn't actually open until 1961. We were founded as a teaching college. So teaching and education is one of our strong points, and the university does train and prepare many of the teachers in Sonoma County. Our university is part of a system of public universities here in California, and that system is called the California State University. And I do know that you guys are our partners and work very closely with many of the universities within the CSU. Our accreditation is part or is from the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and WASC accreditation, that is the accreditation, the highest accrediting board of educational accrediting board here in California. So all of the CSUs that you work with, including Sonoma State University, are WASC accredited. Our university here at Sonoma State University, we are on the smaller size of the CSU as far as enrollment. We have less than 6,000 students, of which I know it says 30 international students here, but this fall 25, after census, we have grown to 43. So we're really excited about that. Again, not large numbers, but we are eager and excited to enroll our degree-seeking international student enrollment of students that are here on F1 student visa. So those are the students, if you're working with them that have an interest in earning a bachelor's or a graduate degree, if we are the right fit for your students and we have the right program for them, we would love to welcome them at Sonoma State University. Our university has, about 70 educational programs for degree-seeking students, 53 bachelor degree programs, and 18 master degree programs. Our calendar is on a semester system, and if you've working with any of the other CSU campuses, you're pretty familiar with the semester system. We have a fall intake and we have a spring intake. This map here just gives you an idea of where we're located in relation to the United States as well as to the state of California. As you can see, we are on the western coast of the United States in the state of California, and the map picture to the left, that shows you all 22 of the California State University campuses and where we're located in the state of California. I've circled Sonoma State, so if you're familiar with the geography, we are about 40, 45 minutes north of San Francisco. So if you're familiar with San Francisco, if you cross the Golden Gate Bridge going north, we're about 40 minutes after the Golden Gate Bridge. And as you can see here, the furthest northern campus of the California State University is Humboldt, and then the furthest southern campus of the California State University is San Diego State. These are some photos around Northern California and the San Francisco Bay Area, just to give you an idea of what the area looks like surrounding our campus. Some of you might be familiar with the Golden Gate Bridge. It's very iconic, one of the most popular architectural structures in the world, and certainly in the United States. Many visitors that come to Northern California will usually visit or see the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz, then some other areas around the San Francisco Bay Area. Our university is a little bit away from the big city of San Francisco and all the busyness of San Francisco. Again, we are about 40 minutes north of San Francisco. So we are in the middle of what everyone refers to as the wine country of California. Sonoma County, Napa County, very famous for the wine that's produced out of those regions. Our area is also home to some of the tallest redwood forests in California and also in the world. The rugged coastline of California, the Pacific Ocean, is also a destination that people and visitors from all over the world love to visit Northern California for. Then, of course, the vineyards and the wineries. I mentioned we're in the middle of wine country, so that is a big attraction, but it also makes for a really, really tranquil, beautiful, serene setting for any of your students that would like to complete their bachelor's or master's degree in that type of a setting. These are some of the other areas around our university. Again, the wine country is probably the most notable because that is one of the things that makes our university in our region very unique. Our university is actually located in the city of Rohnert Park. Sonoma is actually the county that we're in. That's where the university gets the name, Sonoma State University. But the city that we're located in is Rohnert Park. So if you do a Google search or map search on Sonoma State is located, it'll be in the city of Rohnert Park. This is some more photos of our university in our area, and as you can see on the bottom left, that is an aerial view of our university campus. Very beautiful area, lots of sunshine throughout the year. Of course, right now we are entering our winter season, so we do have some rain, pockets of rain. Today it rained slightly, so not too bad, but the sun did come out, and if your students are looking for an area where there is quite a bit of sunshine, Sonoma State University in California, might be a destination area for them to consider. This is a little bit about our housing. We do have one of the best on-campus housing programs in the California State University. For the past 10 years, as far as I know, we've been ranked among the top three, sometimes and more often than not, ranked number one in the California State University for on-campus housing. This is a snapshot picture of what first year students, these would be students that would be recent graduates of high school or secondary studies. Our on-campus housing is not mandatory and not required. However, it is a very good option, and we would always recommend, especially for students coming from outside of California, outside the area, and most certainly from another country, to consider living on campus. And as you can see, the costs are very affordable. And for first year students, the meals are included. So that would be the cost for your students if they're considering applying to Sonoma State University and living on campus. This is the on-campus housing cost. And if you do have transfer students, I know we talked a little bit about transfer students coming to Sonoma State University. We do accept transfer students, and most of our international students, at least right now, are transfer students from our local California community colleges. So if you are working with any of your students that are currently attending a community college, whether it's in California or in another state or even another country, we do accept transfer students. And this is the housing and meal plan options for transfer students. Slightly different from first year freshman students, transfer students have the option for their meal plans, while first year students, the meal plan is included in their housing. So you could see the price difference depending on the meal selection that a transfer student or a graduate student would select. Sonoma State University also has a what we call the Green Music Center. And in the United States, the Green Music Center, for its acoustics, has been ranked among the top three auditoriums in the USA. And particularly because of the way that it was designed, the architecture, the wood that it was used. One of our professor has been quoted saying it's like being inside a violin. So the acoustics are amazing. The music program is one of the top programs in California. And for any of your students that are attending and working on a bachelor's degree or master's degree in a different major, the music program offers concerts throughout the year. And some of our international students also work as ushers in the music department during the concert series to make a little bit extra money and also to see some of the really amazing entertainers, symphonies, and musicians that come to Sonoma State University and perform at the Green Music Center. Our university is also one of the most diverse. We are considered an HSI. I know many of you might not be too familiar with that term because it is a U.S. term, and many of the schools in California are very familiar with HSI. But basically, what that means is a designation of Hispanic Serving Institution. Uh, about 40% of our students have a background, Latino, Hispanic background, and there's a lot of academic support. There's a lot of clubs around that. So on the diversity end, being an HSI does certainly help with our diversity, but we also have students from all over the world, including from some of these countries. I mentioned earlier that we have about 43 international students. So again, not a large population, but we are excited to grow our international student enrollment from other countries, including the countries where you guys are working at. So to increase our diversity and to really bring different perspective and different cultures to the university, exposing our American students to that diversity. One of the questions I do get quite often are, can students work on campus? So if you are working with a student that's going to be coming to Sonoma State University, most likely there will be an F1 visa status, and that status does allow your students to work up to 20 hours per week on the university campus. And many of our departments on campus always have job opportunities for our students and most certainly for our international students. The Global Engagement Office, the office where I'm working at right now, we do have quite a few of our students, both on J1 and F1 student visa, that are working in our office as our student ambassadors and our student assistants. But many of the departments around the campus are also open and do hire many of our international students. So if you are working with a student and one of the things that they're very interested in is working on campus, just know that Sonoma State University is open and does have many of our international students working on campus. Curricular practical training, or CPT, and optional practical training are all available as students in F1 visa status. That is something that they do have access to. So after they finish their degree, certainly our international team will help them with their OPT and to make sure that if they are interested in OPT, that they are able to do that after they finish their degree. This next slide has just a few of the resources, not all, it's not comprehensive, but some of the popular resources, of course, include our Career Center. Our Career Center does bring employers from the industry to meet with our students, and our Career Center does offer assistance and guidance to our students, including our international students that are preparing for careers after graduation. They do workshops in how to dress, how to prepare for an interview. They do mock interviews, guiding our students and coaching them on how to interview and to be successful in a career. So that support is there, including academic support from our Learning and Academic Resource Center. We call it LARC on campus. And of course, we also have counseling and psychological services. I know over the past year, we've had a few of our international students that have some anxiety and some stress about what's going on in the world. You know, some of the things that are going on in world affairs, some of the things that are going on with uh, the visas and I-20s coming in and out of the United States. Might have a little bit of anxiety, might need some additional counseling, and our counseling and psychological services is always available to them, including our own DSOs and international student advisors in our office to help guide and meet and provide some advising to your students as well. This next slide has some of our popular majors, and every time I show this to students, I always want to let them know that popular doesn't mean better. And although we have our business administration, which is listed at the top, it's popular because we have the most students that apply and that enroll through our business program. But all of our programs are excellent programs. All of our programs are fully accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. And it's not to say that one program or one major is better than another, just to show what most of our students are currently enrolled at. Business administration, with the various business concentrations, is the number one program or the most popular program. And then we have psychology, biology, kinesiology, early childhood studies. But we do have over 70 major programs, as I mentioned earlier. So there's quite a few of the traditional major programs that Sonoma State offers that perhaps your students might be interested in. And we also have one of the most unique programs in the California State University, and that's our wine business program. I talked about earlier about where we're located, the region that we're located. It's in the heart of wine country, and Sonoma State University has partnered with our local wineries and the vineyards, and they've told us what they need for their industry are future entrepreneurs, future business managers, marketers, promoters to help move the wine industry. So we've partnered with them and created the only wine business strategies program through our business program, both for undergraduate studies and for graduate studies. So if you do have a student who is interested in the wine industry, especially working in a career in that industry, perhaps even maybe starting their own vineyard or winery, just remember that Sonoma State University has one of the top programs in that particular area. We've added this slide because we do know that many of our international students that inquire about our STEM programs because of the three-year OPT option. So this is a list of the STEM majors that Sonoma State University offers. And as you can see, there is only one graduate STEM program, and that is our electrical and computer engineering program. Nursing right now is our only high demand impacted program, and we do allow international students to apply to our nursing program. However, I must tell you that we have not had one international student enroll, at least as far as I know, for the past 5 to 6 years. And the reason for that is that although they could apply for the major in nursing, there are admission criteria that many of the past international applicants didn't complete. It is the most competitive program. There's a list of admission requirements that nursing applicants need to complete, including prerequisite courses, including a TEAS exam. But the biggest hurdle, at least from our nursing professors who've been evaluating international students in the past, has been the California Nursing Assistant Program. It is part of the points program. So if you do have a student who's interested in nursing, if they are a first year student coming out of high school, they would enter as a pre-nursing student, which would make the pathway a little bit more easier. If they're coming as a transfer student, there is a CNA requirement that they would need to do, and that's a Certified Nursing Assistant program. It's usually a 4 to 6 week program that can be done outside of the college that they're attending. The last time I spoke with a few students, they said it was about $2,000 for that program. So that seems to be the biggest hurdle. So if you do have any students that are interested in nursing, as a first year student applying as a pre-nursing student, much easier pathway for them. If they are a transfer student, there is quite a few prerequisites that they will need to complete. And if you do have any questions on that, someone just let me know and I could send you some of those details on what those students need to do. If they're coming from outside of California, again, it would be pretty difficult because they would have to do that certified nursing assistant, and they would need to find a place where they could do that in order to be eligible. It's not a mandatory requirement, but because it's on a point basis, if they don't do it, they don't get the points for it. If they don't get the points for it, they can't compete with the other nursing applicants. And that's the reason why. Also, to let you know, the last time I spoke with our nursing department, they have 24 seats for the fall of 2026, and we already have over 300 applications. That's how competitive it is. Admission criteria for first year students outside of nursing, it's pretty straightforward. They need a cumulative grade point average of a 3.0 GPA, which is three out of a scale of four. English proficiency, TOEFL IBT 61, IELTS 6.0. I know in January, TOEFL is going to be changing the grading scale for the TOEFL, but we will still accept the grading scale equivalent to IBT 61. Right now, I don't know what the equivalent grading scale. I believe it's on a scale of 1 through 6. But as soon as we get that scale from our admissions office, I'll pass that information on to you guys, and we'll also post it on our website. But according to our admissions director, they're going to accept the TOEFL IBT 61 minimum for undergraduate students for the next couple years. So any equivalencies that TOEFL releases for the new grading scale will also honor that as well. And we'll post that on our website as soon as it becomes available. SAT and ACT test scores are not required by Sonoma State University. And for your students, especially coming from outside of the USA, grad, undergrad. We do require third-party credential evaluations. Right now, our admissions department is only accepting WES or ECE. And I'll go a little bit more about this later on in the presentation. I've got some slides for the Cal State Apply application and where students can indicate the WES or ECE. Transfer students. We do allow transfer students to apply as both lower division and upper division. And the difference between the two is a lower division transfer student is a student who would be entering Sonoma State University with less than 60 transferable units. So usually that's a student who's done less than 2 years of study at a university or a community college. So for those students, we would also require that they meet the high school admission criteria. And if they're here in the USA, we want them to complete the area A2 or English written communication and a math course, general education or math. In our subject area for graduation, we call that area A2 and area B4. And again, SAT is not required for lower division transfer students. Now, an upper division transfer student is a student who's completed 60 or more transferable semester units. If they're going to a quarter system, it would be 90 or more transferable quarter credits. And I emphasize transferable because if students are taking remedial courses, they would not be considered transferable units. It's the college, university level courses, which would be the transferable units. For those students that are upper division transfer students, we do not require high school transcripts. The minimum cumulative GPA is a 2.0, and there are specific subject areas or subject courses that we want all transfer students to complete if they're in the USA. If they're transferring from outside the USA, we don't hold them to these subject requirements. But if they are transferring from a college or university inside the United States as an upper division transfer student, we would require these four subject areas. Many of our transfer students right now are coming from our local community colleges here in California. So if they are at a community college in California, the counselors at the college are very well aware of these four subject areas and are constantly reminding the transfer students, both domestic and international, to make sure that they complete these subject areas before transferring to any of the California State University schools. Now, those four subject areas are a course in public speaking or speech, English writing composition, critical thinking and logic, and a math course. In California, many of the counselors and many of the students, they refer to this as the Golden Four. So if you're working with a student who's attending a California community college and they mention the Golden Four, just remember that this is what they're referring to. It's the four subject requirements that are mandatory for most of the California State University schools and mandatory for Sonoma State University. Admission requirements for graduate applicants. We do require that your graduate applicants have completed or are on their way to complete the equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's degree. So if they're doing a 3-year degree, if that 3-year degree is not equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's degree, then we would not accept it as a 4-year bachelor's degree. And many of the students that inquired about this have done a 3-year degree in India, and generally we do not accept a 3-year degree in India as equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's degree. In addition, they need to be in good standing at that last college or university that they're attending. And the minimum cumulative GPA is a 2.5, although we do recommend that students have at least a 3.0. We have admitted graduate applicants with less than a 3.0, as long as it was above a 2.5. And our admissions office does the GPA calculation in two ways. One as a cumulative GPA, or on the last 60 semester units of university courses completed. So the first GPA calculation is cumulative. If the student doesn't meet that GPA minimum, then our admissions would look at their last 60 semester units and then calculate that GPA. And if it's above a 2.5, then they would move the application forward. Additional requirements may include letters of recommendation, a personal statement. Right now, the university is not requiring a GRE exam, and for the business students, we're not requiring a GMAT. That might change in the future, but right now, we're not requiring those two examinations. Additional documents. I mentioned earlier about foreign academic credentials. We are using WES or ECE to do the foreign credential evaluation for any of your students that have academic records outside of the USA. English proficiency, we students can prove that in various ways. TOEFL, IELTS, PTE. We also accept Duolingo. If you have students that are transferring, undergraduate students that are transferring from a college or university in the USA, with them completing what we call the Golden Four, or those four subject requirements that I mentioned earlier, that would satisfy the English proficiency requirement. Also, if your students have taken a break in between their studies and applying to the university, there is a gap in attendance form that our admissions office would ask them to complete, basically stating what they did in between completing their last academic studies and then applying or starting at Sonoma State University. It's just a check to make sure that there's no academic records that the university requires. So if they've been traveling or working, they just need to state that in the time periods so that our admissions office will know that not to expect any academic records for that time frame. Letters of recommendation for grad applicants and statement of purpose for grad applicants. Undergraduate students, the admission criteria is going to be solely on their academics, and then of course the English proficiency or test scores. F1 visa and I-20. So we included this slide here because we want to remind you as you work with your students, and not everybody's going to remember this, but um, our office actually doesn't want the financial affidavit and passport and bank documents until the student is actually admitted. And then our DSO, she will send an email to the students with a secured link that they can upload the financial affidavit, the bank documents, and and a copy of the passport photo, so that she could send the I-20. Now, she only could receive this as a secure upload. That's why we don't want this information beforehand. We want to wait until the student is admitted so that way we could send a secure link to the student to upload these documents. Again, if you happen to send it before then, that's okay. But if you do remember, just remember that the I-20 for Sonoma State University will come after they're officially admitted by the university. On here, you see for SRJC transfer students and F1 visa status, there is an I-20 transfer form for students that are currently in the USA. And again, our DSO will send that document for the student to complete and return back. No need to worry about the financial affidavit, bank statements until the student has been admitted. Now, the consent form, you can send that at any time. The consent form is a student consent form, which allows our university and our representatives to release information to our partner agents as long as the student has submitted the consent form. That consent form is also a key part when the student has enrolled in for us to determine commission eligibility. So whenever you're working with a student applying to Sonoma State, try to send in that consent form as soon as possible. And if you need a copy of the consent form, just let me know and I could forward you a copy of that form as well. This is what our financial affidavit looks like. It's a little snapshot of it. As you can see right now, tuition and fees for both undergraduate and graduate students are going to be under 20,000 US dollars. So in comparison, Sonoma State University and the California State University is a very affordable pathway for many of your students that are looking to earn a bachelor's or a master's degree. Our cost of living or food and housing, it shows here 22,752. That's the estimate that financial aid gives us, and they use the cost estimate for students living off campus. Now, if a student lives on campus, it could be up to $6,000 more affordable or less. So I believe we're going to be changing that food and housing dollar amount next year to reflect what it would cost to live on campus. And the reason why we're showing the food and housing estimated cost for living off campus is because most of our international students right now are living off campus. But as we work more and more with our partners from other countries and start to intentionally bring in international students from other regions of the world, we know that the on-campus housing is going to be the primary option. So we'll make sure to reflect that in the estimated cost on the financial affidavit. So, for you guys, I know you're not going to remember all the dollar signs. Just remember that living off campus at Sonoma State University is more expensive than living on campus. One of the other things that we offer right now is Sonoma State University has an international student scholarship. Now, the scholarship is solely based on the student's admitted grade point average. And the way that it works, there's no extra application that your students need to fill out or apply for this scholarship. When they're admitted, the admissions director will send our international team all of our new international students and their official GPA. We will review the GPA and verify full-time enrollment of the student, and then begin awarding the new International Student Scholarship up to $5,000. The minimum is a 3.0 GPA, and then every student who has a 3.6 or higher will receive the full amount of $5,000. Right now, our MBA students are not eligible for the International Student Scholarship because the MBA program, the students that are in that program are less than full time. They're actually doing 6 units. So also keep that in mind because we also don't pay commission for MBA students because of the less than full time status of these students. And one of the unique things about the program, at least right now, is students do 6 units per semester, which is less than full time, but they're also required to do CPT beginning in the very first semester. And that's the reason why. So it's attractive for the students, but because of the less than full-time studies, we can't award commission and we don't award the International Student Scholarship. For all other majors, for your students, they have to be full-time enrolled, which is part of the F1 visa status, and they would receive or be eligible for the International Student Scholarship. This is our application period for fall of 2026. The deadline is December 1. That's the priority application period for all students. Sonoma State usually extends, I shouldn't say usually because we will extend that application deadline for international applicants to April 30th for the fall 2026 admission. Graduate applications, depending on the department program, will have a slightly different application deadline. Our spring admission, our spring intake, will begin during the month of August, August 1st through September 30th. However, not all of our academic programs are open for spring admission. Every spring admission, just before the opening of spring admission, the academic departments will release which of the programs will be open for spring admission. And usually most of them are, with exception to nursing because it is one of our high demand programs. And sometimes psychology and a few other majors might also close for spring admission, depending on that application cycle. This is the Cal State Apply. I know some of you have worked with other students that you work with that are applying to the California State University. So you might be pretty familiar with the Cal State Apply application. The students need to create a username and password to get started. And once they get started, the the first page that they need to complete is the extended profile. The extended profile is really key to the whole application because in the extended profile, that's where the student identifies himself as a resident applicant or an international student applicant. And after that, the questions in the application, throughout the application, will be slightly adjusted for either a resident applicant or an international applicant. So if you're working with a student from one of your countries or one of your regions, most likely they will be an international student applicant. And on question three is where they indicate yes, they would be entering as an F1 visa applicant or an international applicant. Profile answers determine what programs or majors appear. So if they're an international applicant, some of the majors might not be available to them. Right now, if they're an international applicant, they are eligible to apply any of our undergraduate and our graduate majors. So there is no I guess no barrier at this point, but that might be something to look out for in the future. The Cal State Apply application, as some of you might know, it is broken down into four primary sections or quadrants. It's personal information. Quadrant two is academic history. Quadrant three is supporting information. And quadrant four is the program in materials section. Most of the questions and the answers provided are pretty self-explanatory. The cost of the application is $70. And if you do have students that are interested in multiple of the CSU campuses, they can apply to all 22 of the California State University campuses. Just know that the application fee will be $70 per application. The good thing is, if they apply to one CSU and then want to apply to another, most of the information will pre-populate the application, the second or third or fourth application. The personal information, this is where there's some pretty key questions pertaining to international students. And on the citizenship and residency section, there is a button that indicates or asks if they're going to be in F1 visa status or J1 visa status. And then there's also a section where they can indicate that they're working with you as the partner agent. And they can indicate that and put the name of your agency or GB. They can indicate that there. The academic history, if you're working with a student who is still in high school and they're going to be graduating, they're going to have courses in progress and then pending courses, of course. But if they are in a high school outside of the US, we don't require them to enter any of the information. They could just indicate which school, the name of the school, where that school is located, and then we'll receive the official transcripts from ECE, basically from ECE, that will verify the student's academic records and their GPA. One thing to note, if they are importing or if they've attended a community college or university, there is a section where they could indicate that they're going to be sending the credential evaluation to either West or to ECE. I added this here because you could see the buttons. or to WES evaluation or to ECE evaluation. For high school students, the ECE course-to-course evaluation is the one that they want to use. However, that button is not available on the high school section. So you just have to remember that ECE is what we require. If you need that link, our admissions office or myself, I could send you that link. If they are a college transfer student or a graduate student, then they would see the WES evaluation and they could use the WES evaluation for that. Now, keep in mind that the WES evaluation uh, does not do the course by course evaluation for high school or secondary studies. So we do want that information for your high school students to come from ECE. You could also use the ECE for uh, college or university evaluation as well as WES. It's just the high school one needs to be from ECE. Okay, I'm going to skip back to the high school section. Again, I just want to just reiterate that you need to enter the school in the city. If it's not pre-populated, then you could just manually type that in. And then, of course, for the high school coursework, or what we call the A through G college preparatory matching section, if your student is exclusively from outside of the US, they do not need to do this section. So they could skip the coursework if the school is completed outside the USA. And then, of course, if they are attending a college university, they could indicate which college or university. They will need to spell it out. So you can see in this example, I have DVC, which most people call Diablo Valley College. They would not be able to enter just DVC. They have to spell out Diablo Valley College. And then if it's a U.S. institution, there will be a drop-down list. If it's a school outside of the USA, then they would just need to manually type and enter that in. And then for college students, college transfer students, there is a section where they have to indicate how they have completed the four basic subject requirements. Again, many people refer to it as the Golden Four, and that's oral communication, written communication, critical thinking, and mathematics. If they are attending a California community college, most of this information as they enter it will be a drop down. If they're attending outside, of California, sometimes they might have to manually enter that if they're transferring from a different school from a different state. If they're coming from outside the USA as a whole, as an international transfer applicant, they would not be held to these four basic subject requirements. And again, here's some information on the WES and EC credential evaluations. In the college section, that's where you'll find these buttons located. In the high school section, again, I just want to remind you that you won't see this. So if you're looking for it in the high school section, just I hope you can remember. I know it might be a little hard to remember, but you won't find these buttons because they're only available on the college and university section. I looked up WES evaluation, and the cost for the basic course to course is $182. There's also the International Credential Advantage Package, which is $233. And then for ECE, the cost for course by course evaluation is $199. And then if they want to do a second evaluation, it's $130. And the reason why I put that is many of our high school applicants, we would recommend that they do the first course by course evaluation while they're still in high school in the midst of their studies, and then a second evaluation after they graduate and complete their high school or secondary studies. So that would actually be two evaluations. And the reason why is our admissions department, if they're a high school student, will need that first course by course evaluation to begin the evaluation and do an initial evaluation, and in most cases can do a conditional admission. the admissions department will need that second and final official evaluation, which would be done after they graduate. I know that's an extra cost to your students. If you're looking at it, it's going to be 300, roughly $330 for the high school students. But that right now is what our admissions office is requiring. Your students can wait until after they graduate and just do one course by course evaluation for $199. But keep in mind that would really push their admissions and evaluations window all the way to the summertime, which would then be a condensed window for them to complete their visa application and get their visa and make plans to enter the USA. So it's easiest if they do the two evaluations by ECE as a high school student. Much easier for them, much easier for the university. I know it's an extra cost, but if you are working with any of your students that are currently in high school and that want to apply to Sonoma State University, just let them know about this. If they choose to do it, that would be great. If they choose to wait until after they graduate, um, from our past experience, most of those applications just remain incomplete, and we never get to evaluating and never get to making a decision or an offer for those particular applicants. Now, the next section is the program and materials. Your students can upload unofficial transcripts. Um, if they are attending a U.S. high school, our admissions team and evaluators will consider those and look at those. If they are coming from outside of the USA, we would only look at the third-party credential evaluations from WES or ECE. The financial affidavit, the gap in attendance, they're not due at this time. Those would be due at a later date after the student submits the application, and for the financial affidavit after they are admitted. Now, the agent consent form, this can be submitted at any time after the student has applied, because we do ask for the Sonoma State University ID number, which we will send them after we receive their application. Supporting information. Sonoma State University does not require or evaluate or use supporting information to determine eligibility. So if you are working with a student applying to Sonoma State University, they could uh, exclude this or just indicate that they're not adding any achievements. And then submitting the application, again, it's 70 US dollars for the app for every application. So if they're applying to multiple California State University campuses, just keep in mind that it would be $70 per school. This information here is the International Application Guide, and I'll put a link to this in the chat in case you need to reference it. This is for all 22 of the California State Universities, and it has some pretty good detail on on each section of the Cal State Apply application that you could reference, or you could even pass on to your students and their parents if they also need to reference it as well. I mentioned earlier that we've created a special email, globalpartners@sonoma.edu. So if you do need to reach out to our international team regarding any of your students that are applying or planning to apply, that would be the email for them to use. We also set up a future international student webpage that has really, really good resources on it specific to an international student that's planning on entering an F1 visa status. So I'll also copy and paste that into the chat as well. But that is Sonoma State University. I know there's a lot of information and a lot of slides. But if you do have any questions, now would be the time that we could open it up for Q&A. Just give me a second to close this out. And let's see. International student. In the chat, I am going to put some links. The first one is the Future International Student webpage. Again, that webpage has some really good resources, including a link to the financial affidavit, a link to all of our majors, direct links to the undergraduate admissions page, the graduate admissions webpage, maps to where our university is located. So it's a really good resource. I encourage you when you get a chance to check out our Future International Student webpage. Also on that webpage is an advising schedule that I have. So if you or any of your students want to meet with me on Zoom, I do have Zoom advising, and that schedule link is on the Future International Student webpage. Now, let me also put the Cal State Apply International um, Help Guide into the chat. And this is National Education Guide. If you can take a moment to copy and paste that for your future reference in case you need to reference the International Application Guide. And again, this is through the California State University. So it's not specific to Sonoma State, but for all 22 of the California State University international application. So very helpful if you wanted to make note of that. And then one more thing, I'll put the email for our partners. And I've been communicating with Simona through this email. So she has this email, right? Again, if you guys need to reach out to us or have any questions, this is our partner's email, and our international team does check this regularly. So if you do have any questions, you could email us there, or you could email Simona and she could ask me directly as well. With that, I want to thank you guys for bearing with me through this application presentation of Sonoma State University. And if you have any questions, I could do my best to answer those questions while I'm here with you now on the Zoom.
Thanks, Izzy. That was super helpful. So much information. You were right to warn us in advance. It was a lot of slides, but I think it was really helpful information that covered so much, and everything from, the attractiveness of the school and the campus and the location to the nitty-gritty with the details of the application. So
Mhm.
it does look like some folks have put some questions in the chat. So I'll just run through them because I think some of them, it might just be a clarification on something you said earlier. But
Okay.
the first set of questions, let's say, is around English language. So I know you mentioned this test that you're wanting to accept. There are some universities that accept medium of instruction letters if say undergrad or high school was done entirely in English. Do you accept those
So
as a
we've
place to the English language?
yeah. So right now, we haven't had very many international students. I mentioned earlier we have 43 currently
Hmm.
enrolled on our campus, and our admissions team doesn't have the expertise. That's why we require credential evaluations from WES or ECE. So right now, unless the student has completed their studies in what we have identified as English speaking countries, we're going to require the English proficiency.
Yep.
So on case by case, they may be able to reach out to our admissions director and inquire directly, and I could help facilitate that if a student or any of your counselors want to inquire about the medium of instruction. But generally speaking, if it's not on the list of designated English-speaking countries, which is on our website, then we'll require a TOEFL or we'll require English proficiency. And
Right.
let me see if I could get that web page up for you guys, or at least the link for it. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So if you go to this web page, and most of my reply communications, if I'm replying, I'll usually include a link to the English proficiency page. And on that web page, if you scroll down to English language proficiency, it'll show and list out the different ways students could indicate or prove English proficiency. And then there's going to be a section that says countries eligible for English proficiency waiver. Unless they come from a country, one of these countries, we're going to ask for a TOEFL. So I know
Great.
that I've had some discussions with some students from Bangladesh and Nepal who said that their whole education was done in English, but if
Mhm.
it's not listed on this country, that's what our evaluators are going to look at.
Yep. Okay.
And again,
Uh,
just keep in mind that because we don't have that large international enrollment population at our university, our admissions department doesn't have the expertise that other institutions with larger enrollments of international students have. And again, as soon as we get up to that point, and I'm hoping we can get there soon, so we don't have to require the third-party credential evaluations, and that we could do those evaluations in-house and really save the students some money on that. But as it
mhm.
stands right now, because we don't have that expertise, this is what they're going to look at.
Right. Okay. I know you mentioned that the SAT and ACT is not required. We
Yeah.
do have some students, though, who have a strong enough score that they'll want to submit it. If they have an SAT or ACT score to provide, in that case, do they still have to, can you accept, can you waive the English language test because they have the verbal section of the SAT, or would
Mhm.
you still I mean, I know from
Yeah.
your list, like English language is required, SAT is
Mhm.
not. And so,
Mhm.
but I think that's the question of if they have an SAT score and a decent verbal score on it, would you be willing to accept that in lieu of the English language?
So right now, no, it's not.
Okay.
It's not listed on our. Well, what does our department call it? English proficiencies exams accepted. I have asked our department to consider putting the SAT and ACT um, the written and verbal sections as part of English proficiency. I used to work at San Francisco State, and at San Francisco State we did accept that for English proficiency. But right now we don't have it listed. I know they've considered it because I've asked them for it, but until it's actually listed officially on our website, the answer would be no.
Okay,
They
no problem.
they might do it on a case by case basis, but again, I'll also push our director to reconsider again to include it. So I know we just did some updates with Duolingo, and then TOEFL is planning to restructure their score. So it might be an opportunity for our director of admission to also consider while they're looking at those updates to consider the SAT and ACT for English proficiency.
Okay, great. Next question, and I'm sorry, I think you addressed this, and I apologize that I don't remember exactly what you said. So I know you said that you need to have a 4-year bachelor's degree,
Mhm.
undergrad in order to apply for grad.
Yeah.
If they had a 3-year bachelor's, but then they did a 1-year either post-bac or master's
Yeah.
degree, is that acceptable?
That is acceptable. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. Oh, another question on the English language. You mentioned IBT. Do you accept the home edition of the TOEFL?
I thought we did. Let me
Okay.
see.
Oh,
I
I can check
Hopeful
the website
IBT
you provided
Special
too.
Home Edition. Yeah, 61 or 80 for grad, 61 for undergrad. But yeah, it is listed on the
Okay,
webpage.
great. Um, let's see. If a student took, I think this is more relevant for grad applicants, but let's say if some of their previous coursework was open schooling or distance education, is that okay? Is that, frankly, do you care if their previous coursework was done online, in person, open schooling?
Not so much. We're just primarily looking at the accreditation of the degree that they
Yep.
receive, and that it's and then there's then we'll look at the cumulative grade point average.
Okay,
And
great.
then if they do are admitted for a particular program, The departments and the professors may look specifically at courses completed for prerequisite purposes, but that would be something that they would work out with their professor and department once they're enrolled.
Okay, great. And then it looks like the last question in the chat that hasn't been answered yet was about a deposit. Is a deposit required? And
Mhm.
if so, the timing of it. Is it needed before the I-20 is issued or just not until, you know, to reserve your spot, but not necessarily to get the I-20?
Okay. Yeah, so it is not necessarily for to receive an I-20, but there is a deposit. When students indicate or intent to register or let us know that they're planning on attending, there's like a button in their student center. They click accept admissions offer, and then that would take them to a page where they would have to then pay the deposit. I believe the deposit is $50 and then 105 for undergraduate students because that would also include the orientation. And then that information would get sent to, well, basically our admissions team.
Okay.
Now, for the I-20, once a student is admitted, there's a series of communications that are going to get triggered, and those communications will be sent directly from our DSO. Her name is Katie O'Brien, and then she would be the one who would be requesting the financial affidavit, the bank documents, the copy of the passport, and she would ask the student to send that through a secured upload portal that she's going to send the students. And that's how they would receive their I-20. So once they're admitted, that process happens. So
Okay.
if they don't deposit before then, they're still going to get that information and they could then submit that information. And then they should receive an I-20 once all that's completed, whether they've sent in the deposit or not.
Okay.
But
Great.
it starts with the admissions.
Okay, great. And then you said $50 is the deposit for grad,
Yeah,
and for undergrad, is it 50 plus 105 for a total of 155, or is it just 105 total that includes both the 50 and the orientation fee?
total of 105.
Okay, great. Uh,
Basically, it's 50 for the enrollment deposit and then
yeah,
55 for the orientation.
got it.
So there is an in-person orientation, but we also have an option for remote orientation. So well, right now, most of our international students are coming as transfer students. I think we have a few that are coming directly from overseas, but most of them are grad students. I think this spring we have one undergraduate student from Vietnam. So they're going to be sent links for the remote orientation.
Mhm. Okay. Roughly how long is your turnaround time for decisions and then for an I-20 once you have all the documents in?
So the decision is based off of the transcripts that are received. If
Mhm.
they are applying from a community college in the USA and do not have any foreign academic credentials, the academic records or the transcripts would be coming directly from the college or the university that they're attending. Our admissions office, once they receive all of that and complete the file, then the admissions should come fairly soon. I don't have an exact time period of that, but it shouldn't be too long once a file is completed.
Okay.
The hurdle is actually completing the file.
Yeah.
So when the file is completed, if they've applied from overseas, completing that file would require the WES or the ECE credential evaluation.
Mhm.
Once that's completed, then they receive a notification that the evaluation is completed and if they're admitted or not admitted. Now, if they are admitted, then in their student center, it would trigger a what we call a to-do list, and then it'll be a series of items which include the financial affidavit, the bank documents, a copy of the passport. That would show up in their to-do list, but as I mentioned, our DSO, Katie, would manually email the students directly. to say, hey, you've been admitted. You need to send me your financial affidavit, bank documents, and passport. And here's the secure link. I need you to do it. If you send it on email, I'm going to reject it, basically. Okay.
Right.
So once she receives that, she could turn around the I-20 in less than a day. It's just a
Hmm.
matter of her receiving all that information. But the key thing is the students won't even get to that point until their application is completed. And once they submit an application, when we receive it, it's quote unquote incomplete
Right.
until we receive the official test scores from TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo, and the WES or the ECE credential evaluation.
Okay. Perfect. I
And
promise only
I,
two
I,
more
I could tell
questions.
you, I know, I could tell you, but Simona, believe me, this has been the biggest hurdle since I joined Sonoma State University from San
Yeah.
Francisco State is the WES evaluation and ECE evaluation.
Yeah.
That has been the biggest hurdle, especially to first year, first time freshman students applying from other countries.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
spoken to a few of them. I asked them, how come you didn't send in your ECE evaluation? And they told me that, oh, we were waiting until I graduate, so we only have to do it one time. So when
Mm,
they graduate, usually that's going to be in May or June.
yeah.
By then, a lot of times they've already been admitted by most of the other universities already,
Right.
to be frank, and they, received their I-20, they've made their decision. And
Right.
if they are waiting for, to receive a decision from Sonoma State University, it won't come until like June or July because we're still waiting for that ECE credential evaluation.
Yep.
So when they do finally send it, the window for them to then do all of the I-20 and F1 visa processing becomes really, really, really small. And, I know it could get frustrating for the families and the students. There's going to be high anxiety of trying to get everything done in such a short period of time. So that's the last thing that we want students to encounter is to start their university experience at Sonoma State, with all this pressure. So I know it's an extra cost to do that credential evaluation twice, but if you can guide your students and just let them know if Sonoma State really is the right school for them,
Hmm.
encourage them to do that credential evaluation while they're a senior and then after they graduate, just so that we could get them their I-20, we could get them, all of the other information in the enrollment process sooner rather than later.
Great.
Yeah.
Um,
For transfer students, it's not that big of a deal because most of our transfer students, at least right now, are coming from a California community college, so they don't have to worry about that credential evaluation.
Great. Okay. Two last questions. One is, do you have a maximum backlogs policy?
We do not, at least not right now. And as I mentioned, our admissions department doesn't do the evaluations.
Yep.
So if I were to ask my admissions counselors, I know that they wouldn't even know what a backlog is. They wouldn't have, are not familiar with that term.
Yep.
They would just say, well, just send it to Wes or ECE, and then we'll make a decision after that. Because basically, all they're looking for from Wes and ECE is the verification of the accreditation of the school, the cumulative GPA, and then English proficiency. That's all that they really care about to make a
Right.
decision. Because we're not looking for course by course prerequisites. We're just looking, do you have the GPA? Are you coming from an accredited institution? And do you have the English proficiency?
Okay. Okay. Last question, I promise.
Mhm.
Deferrals. Do you allow deferrals? How many? How long? What's your process for requesting a deferral?
So right now, no. So if a
Okay.
student has been admitted, and for example, if they've been admitted for the spring of 2026 and they're unable to come for whatever reason, our admissions department would ask them to reapply.
Okay.
So right now, I've been asking for an application waiver code for the
Hmm.
students.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to get it, but if you do have any students that have been admitted and then have to reapply, for whatever reason, let me know and let me see if I could get an application fee waiver code from our director of admissions. If I
Okay.
can, before they submit that application, then they could use that code so they don't have to pay the $70. No guarantees on it. Last year I asked for it, I didn't get it, but I'll continue to ask. It can't hurt to ask. So if I could, if you do have a student in that situation, I'll ask
Okay.
and do my best to, to try see what we can do to accommodate them. But ultimately, it will be at the discretion of our director of admissions.
Okay. Great.
And just so you know, from our director of admissions, is what she told me is that the university has to buy those codes from the California State University chancellor. So it's
Yeah.
not like we get the free codes. They
Yep.
still have to purchase it themselves.
Yep. That makes sense. I've heard that from a couple other CSUs as well, so that makes sense. Great. That really was all of my questions, all of our questions in the chat. Izzy, thank you so much. I know we've kept you longer than we probably anticipated, so appreciate you not only starting late but continuing to stay up late with us. I think we've actually had a couple more team members join as you were presenting. We've had a couple since drop because I think they had to go on to their next meetings, but really appreciate all the information. And I know we've already got some applications working through. Hopefully, we'll help you to grow those numbers.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And again, thank you all for your time and taking the time out of your day, out of your evening, out of your early morning, wherever you are in the world. I really, really appreciate your time. And if you do have any questions, you could either email the global partners or just email Simona and she could pass it on to me. Thank you again. Good night,
Great.
everybody.
Thanks, Izzy. Bye.
Bye-bye.